Hello there. My name is Jasom Jensai, and welcome to this stream where we're going to be reviewing Bad Batch. We're going to be discussing Thrawn Ascendancy, the new book for the greater good. But before we get to all that, let's go over the question of the stream, which is, what is the name of the guy who took care of Jabba's Rancor? So it's a bit of a long sentence because I don't want to say the name or spell it out too much. But basically, there's a guy, you see him for a brief time in Return of the Jedi. He's the guy that takes care of Jabba's Rancor. And what's his name, basically? So if you know that, leave it in the chat. If you know it, leave it in the comments. If you get it right, you get 10 points. You only get one guess, though. Only the first person to get it right gets the points, and you can't look it up. So those are the rules for that. That's the question. That's good for the entire stream. In fact, I mean, it's good forever until someone gets it. So, and that goes for other questions of the streams, too. You could get a lot of points. But anyways, let's move on to the main topic, which is the Bad Batch. So obviously, okay, I think you can hear me. I have my own earbuds connected to here, so I should be able to hear in a few seconds, but there was a bit of delay. so I won't know if you can hear me for a bit. Oh, I hear sound. That's a snap. Yes, okay, great. I fixed it, guys. I'm not sure what the problem was. I basically unplugged my microphone and replugged it in, but now there's audio. So I think there is. If you still can't hear, please leave it in the chat. Sorry for those of you watching not live. Can't help you. Anyways, so let me start completely over. I'll touch on the question of the stream briefly. What is the name of the guy who took care of Jabba's Rancor? Basically, there's a guy that you see in Return of the Jedi. What's his name? Also, I'm going to be doing a review of Thrawn Ascendancy, The Greater Good, second book of that trilogy. But right now, I'm dealing with Bad Batch. So sorry for the... How long was it? Don't really know. But sorry for the amount of time I wasted by having my mic not plugged in properly. But let's talk about the Bad Batch. So, actually, let's do this first. There we go. Okay. So, the Bad Batch, honestly, as a whole show, I'm not super impressed by it as of yet right now. A lot of the episodes, specifically the last 3, feel almost filler. And I think the reason for this is because the protagonists, those being the Bad Batch, are not proactive enough. Their main goal right now is just survive, don't die because the Empire is hunting them. That's like their goal right now. And that's not a proactive goal, that's a reactionary goal, because you're reacting to threats in your life. It's not offensive, it's defensive. And so it becomes less interesting because they're not proactive characters. You can still have characters that aren't proactive that are still good characters. I don't know if I can think of one off the top of my head, but like if you think of most characters, they're proactive. Like Luke wants to become a Jedi. With Kaladin, he wants to save Bridge 4. Kaladin is from the Stormlight Archive, if you don't know that series. There's most characters have like a goal in mind, and that's the main plot. Is this character wants something, and he has to work, do stuff, get it, and maybe there's a subversion of expectations, or his goal changes, and that's fine too. But at least they should be trying for something. And like I said, it can work, but in the case of the Bad Batch right now, it's not really working for me very well. On the other hand, I did actually like this episode, even though I think it's filler. But I don't know. I don't really know why I like it. I think I just like the setting more. For whatever reason. Okay, so the in episode 3, that like moon thing that I land on, that does not feel very Star Wars to me. There is stuff like an Empire Strikes Back that's similar, but I don't know what it is. It just doesn't seem quite right to me. It's almost too lifeless. Like I don't know how to describe it. It's oftentimes when like talking about, oh, that doesn't feel Star Wars, it's so like subjective and hard to explain. I don't know. Maybe it's not that it doesn't feel Star Wars, and it's just that I don't like it for whatever reason. But I don't know. I don't know. Tell me what you think about episode 3. But then episode 4, you go to Pantora, and Pantora does feel kind of Star Wars to me. Not like the most Star Wars-y, but kind of Star Wars. But mixing the Bad Batch with it is almost like mixing like the wrong parts of Star Wars together, if that makes any sense. So that I mean it was kind of right, but it didn't quite feel right to me. But now on Ord Mantell, which by the way, pretty cool that we get to go there. I believe it's the first time we see it in canon, at least in video. I don't remember for sure, but it's a planet that's mentioned all the way back in Empire Strikes Back, all the way back as in our time, not chronological time, because obviously Empire Strikes Back comes after. But anyways, and so Han Solo brings it up. He's like, mentions a bounty hunter they ran into on Ord Mantell right at the beginning of the movie. But so I don't know. I just liked the planet. I think another thing that could be the case as to why I like this episode more is because instead of I'm just trying to survive and reacting to whatever threat is coming, they're trying to figure out who Fennec Shand is, which is more proactive. But then again, they're not really the ones looking for who Fennec Shand is. They're really just doing a job on the side for a person. But then again, I suppose here's what it is. It's that job, even though it's not like their goal is to finish that job for themselves, they still get this goal. Oh, we need to finish this mission. Let's go do it. So it's proactive in that. Also, there's a cool twist of the little girl that they're saving is a little Rancor, and not the little girl that they thought it was. So that's I mean, I've seen it before. It's not the most creative twist, but it's pretty good. And just seeing a baby Rancor, that's pretty cool. One more thing is Wrecker's like chip is definitely acting up or whatever. I don't really know what exactly is going on, to be honest. Technology in Star Wars is kind of weird in that like no one really cares how it actually works, except for like Ryan Johnson or whatever. Maybe I shouldn't say that. No one really cares how it actually works, but everyone thinks they know like what rules it has. For example, how does hyperspace work? And then you look at all the hate towards The Last Jedi about the hyperspace ramming, and I get it. I don't like the hyperspace ramming either for obvious reasons, but it's like you don't really know how hyperspace works. Surely you can't just critique hyperspace ramming so easily. But yeah, I digress. Basically what I'm trying to say is, I forgot what I was trying to say actually. That's a bit awkward. Oh boy, this stream is full of problems. Anyways, so let's move on to. So we talked about setting characters a bit. I mean, this episode is just pretty standard. That's part of why I guess it seems so filler, is just not that much is happening. Like, in one episode, all they did is figure out who Fennec Shand is. They didn't figure out who hired her. They didn't figure out anything about it, and that's all that advanced the main plot. Which, as I already stated, is not really a very proactive plot for the main characters. But, again, I don't know, it's hard to critique this show too much, because I mean, I don't want it to be just perfect. It's not a movie. So there's gonna be filler episodes. Like with a movie, you've got 2 hours. You gotta just kind of cram everything in there. With the TV show, you can spread it out. And so I think that's part of why it feels filler, is because I don't know the entire story. So it's like, well, this stuff is important, but you just don't know why yet. So I think there's a bit of a disconnect in that. So yeah, maybe I should review entire like seasons of shows instead of just one episode at a time. Maybe that'd be better. I don't know. I'll consider that. But then again, then I'd have a lot less streams. I don't know. Tell me what you think I should do in the comments or in the chat. If you've got a strong opinion about that, I could go either way. Especially if you have a good argument as to why I should do one or the other. But, yeah, so that's my thoughts so far on Bad Batch. Kind of sad that we didn't get to see any more of Crosshair again. Like in episode 3, he was like easily the best part of that, and part of that was episode 3 just wasn't very good for the main crew, but a lot of that is because his character arc is pretty interesting, and I really want to know what they're doing with him. I especially look forward to kind of when things start to ramp up more, and I assume what they're gonna do is try and get Crosshair back. Because Tech did mention that he was building something to find the inhibitor chips or whatever to be able to remove them or whatever. So, that's what I'm looking forward to. I hope it happens, but until that happens, it's just going to be a bunch of filler episodes because they're trying to survive, not trying to rescue Crosshair or anything. Like, they're just not being proactive enough. I don't know. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Chapter 5. Or not. Is it Chapter 5? I think it's Episode 5. Yeah, so let's move on to the next segment, which is... Let's see if I can get this here. Okay. So, this is my review of Thrawn Ascendancy: The Greater Good. It's a bit of a long title. So if you don't know, there have been in Legends, and I haven't read these, so forgive me if I miss a little few details. There's a Thrawn trilogy. Then there's a new canon Thrawn trilogy, just called. I'm not sure what it's actually called. I think it's just called the Thrawn trilogy. And the first book of that is just Thrawn. So it's a bit confusing when talking about the Thrawn books. And then there's this new trilogy, which is Thrawn Ascendancy. The first book was Chaos Rising, and the second book is The Greater Good. Don't remember the title of the third book, but that's not out yet, so it doesn't really matter that much. But right now, I'm going to be reviewing Thrawn Ascendancy: The Greater Good. And to be honest, a lot of this relies on information from Thrawn Ascendancy: Chaos Rising, and it's been a long time since I've read that book, so that could be why I didn't enjoy this one as much as the other books, but I didn't enjoy this one as much as the other Thrawn books, especially like the actually all of them are good. I was gonna say especially one, but then I just realized all of the Thrawn trilogy that I read was really, really good. And I was thinking about this the other day as I was thinking about like this review and what I was gonna say, because I finished the book on last week right after my last stream. So it's been a week since I finished this book, and I finished it all in a day. So it's all just kind of crammed in there, and then been a while. So again, my memory is not very detailed, and I didn't like it as much. So the details aren't as vivid. Yeah. So I think I was thinking about this, and I think part of the reason that it wasn't as good is because it doesn't have as much like, I don't know how to. I'm forgetting the word. Iconic. That's the word. It doesn't have as much iconic moments in it, and that makes it hard to visualize. Also, all the ships are like completely unknown designs. Get it? Because it's unknown. Anyways, they're all completely unknown designs, so it's even harder to visualize. And then also, one tiny thing is the Chiss are human in almost every way except for their skin and their eyes, and they can see into the infrared spectrum, and they're really smart. So, oftentimes reading them, it just seems like you're reading about really smart humans, because why would a Chiss comment on the blue skin and red eyes? I mean, occasionally, like, I don't know if you looked at his red eyes or whatever, but for the most part, you're just hearing about just characters, and it's hard to visualize a whole bunch of Chiss in their ship. I can always imagine the chair, because I remember there's this picture of Admiral Erlani, and I wish you could pull it up really quickly, but it would take too long, too much focus. I'm gonna keep talking. I saw this picture of her just like sitting in the command chair, and it looks really good, and it helps me visualize it. But other than that, it's like the only one I can imagine is Thrawn. I don't know. So it's just hard for me to visualize. It's I and that's not okay. That's not a super big problem, but I don't know. It does make it harder to enjoy the book when you can't see the worlds that the person is talking about. As for the plot, the other thing is it didn't really feel like it had a climax to it, and part of that is probably because it's the second book. It could totally be that the climax comes in the third book, but the second book doesn't really have one. And then also there's a bunch of one more thing to mention, kind of in the lack of visualizing ability, is that the timeline jumps around a bit, and the character especially the villain guy, who has like the wings on his cheeks or whatever. That guy's kind of hard to visualize. I don't really get it, but I should look up a picture of him. Anyways, the bad guy, not the overarching bad guy, but kind of the one that's like the in between, who's worked with Thrawn a bit. That guy, his future and past, I kept getting which was happening at different times mixed up. Or it was something like that. But yeah, I mean, the other thing too is it's a bit of a mystery style book where it's you're Thrawn and the Chiss are like trying to figure out what's going on, or they don't even know they're trying to figure it out, but slowly they're unraveling this mystery. Um, yeah, so it's it's a bit confusing to me what this book, and that really brought down my enjoyment is because had to focus so much on like what exactly is happening here. Um, the other thing is I do listen to my books on audiobook, so oftentimes I'm like doing something else while listening to it. That doesn't help me focus either. Um, so yeah, this review is not a very good review. Sorry. Um, and I don't mean like it's not a good book. I mean like my brain is just scattered and all that stuff. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, I mean it's a pretty good book, but honestly, I like the other Thrawn books so much better, and I think my expectations for this trilogy were just so high. Like the idea of, oh, it's only Thrawn, like before he goes to the Empire, and then it's just not like incredibly like it's still good, but it's not mind-blowingly interesting, which you can't expect every story to be mind-blowingly interesting. Otherwise, the thing that happened to me now happens, and you're disappointed. Um, so yeah, that's what I think of Thrawn Ascendancy. If you look on the graphic I have, and this will be on the thumbnail too, I have the good, the bad, and the boring. And there's a saying type thing that's like the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think in storytelling, ugly is supposed to be like even worse than bad, but I think boring is worse than bad, and in most cases. Um, so a lot of this book was mostly just boring. To me, just because it was so confusing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Unknowns says YH. I'm not sure what that means. You who? No. What could it be? Yeah, sorry. I don't know what that means. YH. Please clarify. While I wait for that, what else can I talk about? Ooh, who is? The other thing is I always forget names in books. Like there's a few books that I remember the names. But like halfway through a book, I'll be like in the middle of the book, and I'll be like thinking about it. I'll be like, wait, what is the name? Bro, this YouTuber works so hard. I think he deserves more views. Thank you. That's very kind of you. And yes, I would appreciate a few more views. Um, yeah, yeah. So okay, so I always forget names of books, but the the caretaker of the Skywalker, who used to be a Skywalker. If you've read the book, you probably know who I'm talking about. That person, I like all of her scenes. They're pretty cool. Um, Also, I don't know if I like Thrawn scenes in here. He wasn't even in it that much. Now that I think about it, I mean he was there, but he wasn't like the viewpoint character that much. So I don't know. That's I guess the end of my super rambly, super scatterbrained review of Thrawn Ascendancy, the Greater Good. So that's that. May the Force be with you. Yeah. So for those of you watching the stream, I think that's all I have to say for today. So if you've got any topics you would like me to discuss or anything like that, you could leave those in the chat. I'll gladly cover those. Otherwise, I'm gonna head out. Okay, so Unknowns1 says, I think you should start a TikTok channel, maybe do some Star Wars gameplay videos. Here's my response to that. So for gaming, I am definitely not a very big gamer. Usually when I do video games, pretty much all I'll do is either Minecraft or Pokemon. And Pokemon is a kind of recent thing. Oh, well, kind of recently. So from in my childhood, I played a lot of Pokemon. Then I played a lot of Minecraft, and just recently I got a Pokemon emulator on my computer and started playing that. But I haven't played any of the Star Wars games. I've watched the playthroughs of Jedi Fallen Order and what's the other one? Battlefront 2. but I haven't actually played them. And part of that is just because I just don't think I would enjoy it that much. Like story-based games are cool, but if I want to see a story-based thing, I'll just read a story or watch a story. As for making TikTok stuff, a lot of the content I do is like super long form, and like I don't know, I kind of like the long form content, and if I do it to TikTok, it's what, under a minute, right? So okay, YH means yes. Okay. Yeah, so if it's TikTok, it's under a minute. So that I mean I still could. Um I don't know, maybe I should. I'll think about that. So, if there's any other topics, leave those in the chat. Otherwise, I will head out. And there's a bit of delay, so I gotta wait. And by the way, thank you to all of you who are showing up to these live streams and chatting and all that stuff. Also, thanks to those of you who are showing up late. Maybe not showing up late. That's not the best way to say it. Watching after I've streamed. I watch most of my streams after the stream. If I can, there's a stream called Head to Head Star Wars Podcast that I like to go to while it's live. Because they have a pretty small audience, so you can actually chat things and they'll actually see it. But like, I'm so busy, I usually have to watch them after the stream anyways. So yeah. So yeah, thanks to all of you who are watching. Leave a like if you liked the video. And without all that being said, I'm done with the stream. So may the force be with you, always.